All right, folks, right back at it here this Wednesday afternoon now, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here this for our afternoon meeting, I should say. I want to hop right into it. We have the SOS trade still kind of chopping around, but it's more so another stock, one that I'm actually in. We've been talking about it going into this meeting, ODT, that I really want to jump to. But great to see everybody live inside our trading room. Jason, Stefan, Ken, Kathleen, Bonnie, Norman, and Grant. And for all of us on social media, welcome on back. Facebook Live and YouTube, that is. So, hey, SOS, I actually have the new snippet. I talked about this very briefly in the morning. I didn't have it in front of me at the time, so I read it early as far as SOS because I didn't really actually see the headline from Benzinga. This ended up making a huge pop in the after hours yesterday, and then this morning showing a lot of activity. I didn't have it on me at the time, but the new snippet, I'll actually bring it up right from my internet feed here. Give me a quick sec. There we go. So this is what I saw. This was from April 7th. This is typed from today, but it says SOS notifies, or I guess law firm notifies SOS limited investors of class action and encourages shareholders to contact the firm. So that was the little blurb that I was trying to allude to from the morning meeting earlier. Again, I don't know if that's the official reason as to why we saw SOS spike up as much as it did from yesterday. I would like to think it is, but there was also something that came out like overnight regarding SOS being named as like a Reddit stock. I didn't really think that was the reason as to why it was pumping up, that much at the time. But either way, right, regardless of the news report, we ended up kind of nailing this call out. I mean, honestly, we ended up waiting for the drop off. We were thinking it could make a false breakout over 6 and dump right back down. Now, I thought that there was a much greater chance to see this drop down to 5. $5 whole number, and then from there see a really big squeeze. So I wish I could say I got in off the low at like 523, but we ended up taking this pretty nicely off 550 later on. Ended up building a higher low here, squeezed back up nicely, and then at the time we ended up riding this up towards 6. Made the false breakout from there, which was again kind of expected going into the lunchtime area. Now, here's the thing, and I want to jump to ODT next. I mean, I'm in this trade currently live, but it's one that has a pretty good opportunity at making a big move for us heading into the close, the ODT stock. So let's just jump to that. That was one that we didn't really have on our morning meeting. It didn't really make a big move until after the market opened up, and I'm going to compare the two pretty much. So the ODT, first and foremost, ended up making a nice squeeze after the open, right? Popped from like 350-ish, ran all the way up towards near 5. Now, the stock is also shortable, so what goes up does come back down, and it did kind of provide a decent opportunity on the way down, but I didn't really follow that. I was following the way up, and with the daily chart that you happen to see, there's such a big gap on the daily chart that it provides a phenomenal short squeeze opportunity. Now, where I'm getting to here is that both of these stocks, SOS and ODT, are extremely heavily traded. Just, in comparison to how much volume it trades day to day or on an average basis, and also in terms of its float. So, for instance, ODT, the volume total across the day today is 37 plus million shares. Prior to today, across the last 50 days, it was trading 1.6 million shares on average. And that's also kind of inflated based on this day where it got crushed. So even before all of the big, stuff that happened on the daily chart, it was only trading a few 100,000 shares on average a day. That's it. Now, let me look at the SOS stock. Just jump back to that. Pretty much same thing. Now, this one we are familiar with. This stock, at least, we are pretty familiar with because we ended up trading this just across the last month, right? So it definitely trades a lot of volume day to day still. Prior to today, traded like 75 million shares on average a day. That number is also kind of wacky, just given some of these bigger, spikes. But it's to say this. SOS, the float on this stock is like 10 million shares. That's it. So this stock is trading roughly, and I tried to estimate this about 10 minutes prior to me doing this meeting. Let's just shoot from the hip and approximate. This stock is trading about 26 to 27 million, 26 to 27 times its float. And we look at the ODT trade, which I will just admit to you right now, I just got stopped out on this damn thing. Just took me out right at $4.15 on this shakedown here. Damn. I was hoping for a squeeze up, and perhaps we'll get it later on today. I just think that either way, ODT is trading at least, less compared to its float compared to SOS. I think it's trading 3 to 4 times its float, the ODT trade, and that's much less compared to the 26 to 27 times that SOS is trading its float. So ODT, either way, I'm more hopeful for a squeeze up heading into the afternoon to see this try and continue to fill the gap on the daily chart. If it doesn't happen today, then maybe tomorrow. I'm not going to hold my breath for it. Either way, as a day trade opportunity, we're going to put this on our list because if this doesn't move up at all, if this just flops and goes the other way, then it would provide a continued short opportunity, right? It is shortable. So this ODT, I definitely will put on our list. I was in SOS just a moment ago, too. I was basically writing my whole game plan out to everybody live inside the chat board earlier, which I don't always have the chance to do. I told you folks earlier during the morning meeting, today was kind of more of a quiet day for myself on the coaching end, so I was pretty available to. So I was just commenting pretty in depth regarding my positions here on SOS. It was unfortunate, but I realized based on the float and how much it was trading in comparison to its float, it just wasn't making the right opportunity at the time. So I ended up jumping into this trade. It was off 590 here, and I was expecting to squeeze up, and I ended up getting out just with a scratch trade. Like got out at 589, and although it did pop up a little bit, look what happened after. So I just thought it was pretty exhausted. I'm happy I got out on ODT. That thing still seems like it's dropping off a bit. Yeah, the ODT trade might make a pull down to 4 now at this point heading into the afternoon. And hey, if it does, then I'll try and trade it from there. No problem at all. I had a pretty strong morning today, and that last one that I got stopped out on here, well, this one here, I should say, that was a scratch trade. I ended up soiling a profit. I ended up getting out or getting in at 415. So I had decent chance to try and lock in a good profit, but I wanted a lot more. So with that in mind, folks, what we'll actually do is just go from top to bottom now at this point. I do want to jump to one stock, but I'm going to be patient with it because if you've been following me here, at least on social media, for all of us live in the room, you folks know. But for anyone on social media that follows me in the afternoons in particular, and perhaps from this morning as well, and I got some sweet, sweet revenge to talk to you about here. But I want to go from top to bottom to begin. UTME. New IPO. I know that Lato was talking about this just before, to see a stock open up at like $11 back on April 6th, just yesterday. And then now it's at what, 96? That's crazy. I mean, that rarely happens. And I guess according to TradeStation, it's shortable, but as an IPO, I don't know how available those shares really are. So I don't know. It's fun to watch, fun to look at. Just the spread though is way too big, way too blank of an order book here. IO, how about this? This ended up making a nice little pop after the open. I know a couple of our students called this out, and it was a great call. Ended up pushing up nicely after the breakout off of 265 to 270. And, for right now, trying to make that second win type of move. So, you know what? I'll keep this on our side list for right now. I definitely wouldn't be shocked if I just kind of add this on here at the end. I just want to go through some of the others. It is shortable, at least for those of us on TradeStation. And if you could short it as well, not on TradeStation, then at least the spreads are tight, good liquidity. Meaning if this fails to break out any higher and just dumps back down like the ODT is currently, then that'll be a decent opportunity. All right, this OUST, my trader's dyslexia, maybe just my bad vision, is like making me think that this is the inverse gold ETF dust, DUST, the D and the O. I keep thinking that. So OUST here at least ended up making a huge pop after the market opened, ended up making like a very similar play as RMO from yesterday, right? And I'll get to that, but ended up making the pullback down here at this point. Can't short it, but pulling back down pretty sharply. Perhaps this could build support from where it had broken out from, roughly like right here off of like 975-ish. Shoot from the hip there. Oh, that's 992 actually in this resistance here. So it's below that point right now. Maybe this will pop sooner than expected or bounce back up perhaps. It's on a real smooth downtrend line off the highs, so just be mindful of that. But I don't mind adding this to our watch list in hopes of a higher low, another move back up perhaps, not to break new highs, but if we can see this run back up to 1040, that's a nice little day trade there. All right. BNSO. Again, my trader's dyslexia kicked in earlier. I thought this was BNGO. I was like getting all excited. BNSO ended up making a big pop after the open. This seems like a super low float stock. Got halted like a bunch of times on the way up, once on the way down, and that is game over. All right. ODT just, it's kind of consolidating over past support actually right off 408. I'm just going to focus back on that trade just once I finish up this meeting. That's all. Archon, another kind of relatively lower traded stock, or lower volume traded stock, I should say, and making a kind of a light move up here. So ONCT, made a nice little pop going into 12:30 Eastern. You have a 13,000 share order on the ask. You can just spot that right on the matrix here on the far right side, right off of 1050. So that definitely is resistance. It looks like it false broke it once already. And with that, that definitely is a great setup to work with heading into the afternoon. I don't know why ONCT made the pop. I guess I could take a look at the news right now. Not really stressing on time. Just get my browser back up, like I had from before. All right, so the quick news snippet on ONCT really quickly for those interested. ONCT trading higher after Oppenheimer initiated coverage with a $14 price target. Oppenheimer also did a price target. Where was it on this morning? Ah, damn, I forgot the stock that Oppenheimer did that on. What was it, AIM? One of the stocks I put on the morning watch list, I believe, and maybe I'll get to that in a moment. But that's the reason as to why ONCT made the move. And at the time when the news came out, to have like a $9.20 stock have a $14 price target, it's not like ridiculous, but that's not really like too close to the price where it's at right now. So led to a pop and hopefully a higher high later on. Wouldn't be shocking to see it run up to 11. All right, bunch of other like kind of familiar names that I know are typically like kind of sketchy stocks to look at here going into the afternoon. Not a whole lot really happening. I know APDN did run from before. This is just garbage now. Pixie, another kind of like possible. It's squeezing up a little bit. Volume really died off on this trade, though, even before 2 o'clock. You could just see that looking at the volume bars there. Given how much it dropped off, you could see back across the last year, you'd like to think it's due for a really big squeeze up. And for the times that it has popped, it's always come back down after. If not the same day, then the following day after. So I don't know. I'll put this on our side list. Maybe I'll just jump back to it at the end, like the IO stock. I do like that IO, that trade. See what else we got. Definitely want to be picky here because I like the ODT a lot. I like the OUST and the ONCT. We got a lot of O's here on our watch list so far. The hell, Snapchat up doing a 6.5% here. Interesting. I always love Snapchat just from its IPO pretty much. You know, we've traded it over the years. And at this point now, it's kind of fallen out of our price range. But to see a familiar name like Snapchat, number 47 gainer on the gainers list here, up 6+%, you know, trying to make another run up. The spreads are tight. You know, I love that part. So, you know what? It's expensive, but I love the stock. We'll put Snapchat on our list here. You know, it recently just rebroke above 60.50. See if it could hold a higher low from there, move back up towards 61. SLDB, familiar name at least. Just check that out. Looks pretty spotty. OCGN, let's talk about this pretty quickly. OCGN was a great trade from earlier today too. So this one, I did put on my personal side list going into the market open. I don't think I talked about that during the morning meeting, but it ended up making a big squeeze up shortly after the open. I didn't catch it right away. I ended up following this more. If anything, it was like more on the way up, like near the tops, I should say. You know, similar to that RMO stock, which we'll get to, trust me. But, you know, the OCGN ended up making the big pullback down. It is shortable, and that was my opportunity. I ended up jumping in on this trade. I took 2 positions, 2 half-size positions. It ended up making a full 1,000 shares, but I ended up taking my first half at 789, and then it popped up a little bit higher. I was like, oh, crap, here we go. It's going to start to begin to, you know, do the same thing as RMO. You know, normally around 11 o'clock, at least by then, we should expect to see, you know, reversals or pullbacks or the trend weakening. You know, perhaps this was a slightly late bloomer off the first real big pop as it broke over 7. But, you know, it ended up pulling back down. So my entry on this was right from 8. I ended up taking the second half of my position more or less from 810, 808. So from there, it pulled back down and provided a really good opportunity as a short. It was a phenomenal trade. I ended up getting out like 750, 756. Ended up dropping off a hell of a lot more, as you could see. I left a fortune on the table, perhaps, but I'm not trying to hold on to these trades all throughout the day, folks. So, I'm just going to take what I can get. So, hey, it was a great trade and still looks like it could drop lower heading into the afternoon. So, OCGN, I really don't mind slipping on our list here too. Another O, I guess we'll kind of add to our list here. OCGN. Just tradable stock, familiar name, tight spread. Not to say it's guaranteed, quote unquote, safe. If you don't know how to trade it, then higher chance of you losing money on it, but definitely less risky compared to some of those other wacky stocks from before. Seal, before we move over to the losers list here, because this is also a familiar name. We called this out from earlier. A little bit of a tough trade perhaps for a couple of us, but ended up making a squeeze up towards the high here, 565. Pulled back. This is the stock that I had said that a bunch of companies, or not bunch, a couple of different firms ended up doing like a $15 price target on this stock. And that's a pretty outrageous price target compared to where it was trading at like $4 back then. So, and still pretty cheap. But in relation to that right now, it's not making as strong of a move for this afternoon. So, it's a good side list stock to keep in mind. So we'll just pass for right now. All right, so with that in mind, let's hop over to the losers list here. We did put the FGen trade on our watch list going into the market open. So I was thinking just in both ways, right, to see this potentially make a dead cat bounce, or as it did, and ended up just crapping out right away. Broke down, pretty much instantly. We were watching the 24 support level heading into the open. We saw a lot of volume traded off of that price throughout the pre-market session, but there was no chance for a trade from 24 unless if you held into the market open, which we don't do really here. So ended up just completely tanking right away. And for right now, at least, just as an afternoon trade, this might be a lot better of an opportunity of a trade for us to take this afternoon compared to the morning. It's easy to say now because, the market open, this thing, like I said, just completely tanked. We try to avoid trading the first 3 to 5 minutes. So, unless if you chased it and got in much later on, which perhaps would have paid off, then there wasn't a trade to take. And we're not looking to chase. So, for this afternoon, where I'm getting at here is that with this at the lows of the day right now, perhaps it drops down to 20. And if it doesn't break any lower, given how far it's dropped off today and, the activity so far, if it doesn't break lower, then I'd like to think that we'll get a dead cat bounce opportunity. So that's why that's why I'm saying this could be an even better trade this afternoon than it could have been from this morning. All right, so we'll put this back on our list, the FGen. See what else we have. The losers list here, actually a few shortable stocks right now near the lows. FIX, FIXX. Tight spread at the lows. Looks like there's little support at 740. Looks kind of slow and inactive, but it could be more of like a level 1 stock to watch heading into the close with this in mind. Spreads aren't bad. I'll kind of keep this on the side. I'll kind of do like a contest between the 3 or so stocks that I have on the side list. See what makes the final cut here. Geo, not a whole lot happening there. All right, so let's talk about it. This RMO might just make the cut at the end of it, but this I ended up getting my sweet revenge on today. I was very happy to say that. So if you folks recall from yesterday afternoon, I was saying I couldn't have been more wrong on this move because I was just looking for the short, and I only took a couple of losses on this as it ran up, but I missed the whole opportunity on the long, right? So, the losses that I took didn't kill me, but I just missed out on the whole damn opportunity here because I was expecting a reversal time. I was expecting this to pull back down, and I just missed it. Now, here at this point going into the close, the final 30 minutes, it peaked and then it dropped. I didn't take the short from there. Just I was fooled a couple of times, so I was a little bit hindered to take this trade again. But hey, it's one of those situations. It's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? I know I'm not going to, and actually there's a more blunt way of saying this, and I phrased it pretty nicely here in the trading room earlier. I'm not necessarily the brightest bulb of the bunch here. I'm really not. And probably the majority of our students, everyone here, probably if we all took an IQ test, I'd be in the bottom tier. But the quote that I said was like, listen, I may be stupid, but I'm not an idiot. Like, I know this thing's coming back down. and I'm going to be there to take it. If this thing is shortable, which it was, I will be there to take it. So, it popped up at first, and that did throw me off slightly again, but it ended up kind of topping off right around 1250. That's where I ended up jumping in on the short. I ended up writing this down towards 1150. I ended up getting out, got back in, wrote it down closer to 11, but from that point, look at this thing, just kept going. It just kept going. So for right now, heading into the afternoon, it might just be totally exhausted from the last 2 days in general, between yesterday's massive squeeze up, today's massive, pop and drop, so to say. All right, so I'll kind of put this on the side as well. We have almost as many stocks on the side list as we do on the main list. I like to just be picky and choosy right now at this point in the day, but maybe we just jump back to this at the end. LI making a new low here heading into the afternoon. This was one that we did put on the morning watch list. We took our eyes off it early just because there were plenty of others just to focus on, but this could have been one of the trades of the day so far, and we just weren't really there for it. So it ended up breaking down shortly after the open, broke down below its own $24 price, and from there, of course, as you could see, the rest was history. It just dropped down lower and lower, ended up, kind of coasting off from 23. And for right now, major support off of the 2250, 44,000 share order roughly sitting on the bid. So definitely this lead stock will make the cut. See what else we got here. Any other familiar names here? You got the Riot down 10%. Jeff just called out Mara testing 46. So my stance on these stocks going into the afternoon. I don't have my Bitcoin chart up right now, folks. I told you I would have it up heading into this afternoon, but unfortunately I don't have it up. If Bitcoin was tanking, I would definitely show it. I don't mind showing it. Bitcoin dropping, although I'm super bullish on it. Currently, Bitcoin's price is at just over 56,000. So it is dropping off a bit. So with that, new stocks ended up going with it. So if there's more of a drop on Bitcoin, perhaps to anticipate that as well on Riot and Mara and Can and Ebon. But my stance on these stocks heading into the afternoon. So I would be more mindful to see a dead cat bounce, to be honest with you, here on Riot and Mara and all of those. I'm so happy I just got out on ODT. Hell, I might get back in here. I am so happy I set my stop. Wasting the profit, yeah, it stinks, but that's nothing compared to holding on to the trade and being down another 25 cents or 20 cents while I'm doing the meeting, right? That would be a shame. So, you know what? I'm going to finish up relatively soon so I can get back to this ODT trade. I definitely want to trade it heading into the close. Get a nice discount on this stock now, perhaps. All right, folks, let me know what else you got just across YouTube, Facebook Live, and for all of us live inside the trading room here. Franco on YouTube asking, are you Italian? I am not Italian. I probably talk as fast as one, though, right? Fausto is Italian. Fausto Pugliese. He is the president and founder of Cyber Trading University. All right, so I think that just about does it, though, folks. Right? I got nothing else on Benzinga Pro. Actually, let me just check. Maybe one. See what the chart looks like at least. We'll get a fair shake. It's another O. ONCY. It's up 9+%, getting a lot of volume filled just recently. It looks like maybe we'll find out. Yeah, over 450. It could have just been an iceberg. Yeah, big iceberg order getting filled. Look at that. Wasn't just a dark pool print. It was a huge order on the ask that just got executed. So, hey, right now, ONCY. I like this one. We'll add this to our list. And I don't know, I did say at the end, we would jump back to the IO and all of those others, right? So IO trying to squeeze back up here, trading 27.5 million shares. It barely trades over, let's see, prior to today at least. 1.3 million shares on average. That's also factoring in this huge day. I don't know. I just feel like this could be exhausted. If it pops, we'll call it out after. We don't need to be perfect with putting, every stock that's going to move on our list. If this stock does run going into the close, of course, for all of us live inside the room, we'll be there to call it out. The Pixie trade is getting another push up. So PIXY is starting to get another squeeze here. This one still looks pretty strong. Fix we put on the side list. This one just pretty slow, stagnant. It's at the lows, but I don't need to put this on our list. And then the RMO at the end here, I just feel a little exhausted. I think at the end of it all here, folks, I will put Pixie on the main list. I'll make the cut. So all in all, and for all of our students live inside the trading room, I'll certainly type this out to you in just a few moments, but we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 stocks to watch heading into the afternoon. For any one of us live inside Cyber Group that suffers from trader's dyslexia, maybe not as bad as me, but if you have your own, just try and be careful. You got the ONCY, ODT, OUST, ONCT, OCGN. Geez, that's a disaster. All right, so just be mindful of all of those, folks. If there's anything else that pops heading into the close, we'll certainly be there to call it out. For all of us on Facebook Live and YouTube, Fausto will be back tomorrow morning as normal. So I hope that you enjoyed me, at least in the morning. I'll do my normal stuff as always here heading into the afternoons. For anyone interested, make sure that you like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/cybertradingu. And then outside of that, feel free to join us live inside our trading room Monday through Friday. Just go right down to the link on the banner below to get started. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all coming up pretty shortly here. I got a coaching coming up at 3 o'clock. I'll be back on the mic right at 3:30. Take care.